It is 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of January. The wind has been beating on the house for hours, and then you hear it. The furnace goes quiet. The refrigerator stops humming. The little green clock on the microwave is gone. You reach over and click the lamp, and nothing happens. Outside the window, snow is pouring sideways past a dead streetlight. Every source of heat in that house, the furnace, the stove, the water heater, maybe the well pump too, has just turned into cold metal. By sunrise, the kitchen is 59 degrees. By the second night, it is 41. And the man on the battery radio is saying 3 more days. A modern house is built on one promise, that the power never quits. But my people lived through 10,000 winters on this land without a single light switch, in lodges made of hide, bark, and grass. And they did better than survive those winters. They were warm. So today I am going to hand you 10 of their tricks using what is already sitting in your house. Stay with me all the way to number 1, because number 1 sounds exactly backwards. It is about the one thing you leave open when every instinct in your body says seal the house up tight. And the reason comes down to one specific thing that warm air carries with it. Something almost nobody ever explains. Get number 1 wrong, and the other 9 can turn against you. I'm Wes Kingfisher. I am 64 years old. I am of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother Ada in the hills of eastern Oklahoma, where I live to this day. She taught me the plants and the kitchen, and my grandfather and my uncles taught me the woods. 40 years on the powwow trail taught me the winters, from the northern plains to the high desert, and I have slept in a teepee at 20 degrees below zero and woke up warm. Now, this is not a video about the end of the world. This is about 3 or 4 days in February, which is what folks here in Oklahoma got in the big ice storms, and what our neighbors down in Texas got in that freeze a few winters back. All electric houses going dark and cold from Amarillo to Houston. The modern answer sits in a box at the home center. It is called a standby generator. It runs anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000. It drinks fuel the whole time it works. And I have stood in a driveway at 10 degrees listening to a man yank a starter cord while the thing coughed at him and quit. The old answer costs close to nothing because the old answer is knowledge. Every native nation on this continent worked out the same winter arithmetic over 10,000 years. Keep the heat you already have. Make the little heat you can. And never let the cold push you into a foolish mistake. That whole way of thinking works just as well in a farmhouse or an apartment as it did in a winter lodge. So here come 10 of those tricks, counting down to the big one. And while we count, keep one question in the back of your mind. At the top of every teepee our people ever raised on the northern plains, there is a hole left wide open to the sky in the coldest weather this country has. Why would anybody do that? Hold on to that question. It is number 1, and I promise you the answer is not what you think. Now, before we start counting, you ought to know where these 10 come from. A few years back, I sat down and started writing out everything my grandmother Ada and the elders across Indian country handed me around 1,000 fires because the old ones never wrote any of it down and somebody had to. It became a book called The Native American Way, 101 remedies, skills, and recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years. The backyard plants, Ada's teas and salves, the wild foods and when to gather them, the fire and shelter and water skills, and the old way of putting food up for winter, written out plain. And a book holds one advantage on the very night we are talking about. It never needs a battery. Right now it is $17, marked down from $47, less than a tank of generator gas for 10,000 years of testing. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here, all right? If there's a pencil in the junk drawer, this is a good time to fetch it because these count down fast. Number 10, the storm speaks first. Long before radar, the old ones read the storm coming because a storm always announces itself. My grandfather could stand at the tree line in November and tell you what the next 2 days held. A ring around the moon at night, that milky circle means ice crystals riding high ahead of a front. Chimney smoke that sinks and crawls along the ground instead of rising means the pressure is falling. Birds mob the feeder and strip it bare, then vanish. The woods go strangely quiet, and the wind swings around to the northeast and settles in. When 2 or 3 of those signs stack up, or when the weatherman starts saying blizzard, the old response was never to hunker down and hope. It was a burst of hard, fast work while working was still easy. Here's that burst in a modern house. Fill the bathtub to the brim with water. If your water comes from a well, that pump dies with the power, and even city pipes lost pressure in the Texas freeze. That tub will flush toilets and fill the kettle for days. Cook the biggest pot of food in the house while the stove still works. A stew, a chili, a pot of beans, something that reheats well. Run the laundry so every stitch of clothing is clean and bone dry. Gather the flashlights, the candles, and the matches into one spot everybody knows. Pull every spare blanket and sleeping bag into the living room, and go find your main water shut-off before you need it, because a burst pipe at midnight is a poor time to start hunting for it. That is the whole trick. The storm tells you it is coming. The old ones believe the warning, and they spend it working. But no pot of stew will save you if the house pours your heat into the sky all night. And number 9 is how the teepee solved that with a hallway closet's worth of blankets. Number 9, shrink the lodge. A teepee on the winter plains was not big, and that was on purpose. You do not heat the prairie. You heat the small circle where the people are. In a blackout, your whole house is the prairie. So give most of it up without a second thought. Pick one small room on the south side if you have the choice, with the fewest windows. Move the whole family into it, bedding and all. Close every other door in the house. Hang a heavy blanket over the doorway of your one room, nailed up or on a spring rod so it reaches the floor. At night, hang quilts over the windows. In the morning, if the sun is out, open the curtain on the south window and let the sun work a shift for you, then cover it again at dusk. Now for the older, deeper part of this trick. Inside a winter teepee, our people hung a second wall, a liner of hide a few inches inside the outer wall, and the trapped, still air between those two walls was the real insulation. You can build the same thing tonight. Take your coldest wall, the north wall, or whichever one faces the weather, and hang a quilt flat against it, a couple of inches off the surface if you can manage it. That pocket of dead air works like a second wall, exactly like the liner in the lodge. And remember this while you set the room up. Every person in there is a small stove. A grown body gives off about as much heat as a 100-watt bulb day and night. About 100 watts apiece just for being alive. 4 people and a dog in one small room will lift that room by several degrees with no fire at all. So that is number 9. One small room, every door closed, a blanket for a door, quilts on the windows and the cold wall, everybody together. But a warm room still will not help you if the floor is pulling heat straight out of your body while you sleep, and that is exactly what floors do. Number 8, beat the cold from below. No native camp on this continent slept flat on the winter ground. Not once, not anywhere. The bed came first, and the bed was thick. Evergreen boughs laid a hand deep, then hides and robes over the boughs. The old ones understood something in their bones that most of us never think about. Air steals your heat slowly. The ground steals it by touch, straight through whatever you are lying on all night long. The cold you fight in bed comes up from underneath you far more than it comes down from above. So flip the way you think about blankets. Padding underneath you is worth double the covers on top. If you must sleep low, Drag a mattress into the warm room or lay down the couch cushions and never lie directly on the floor. Then follow the old ratio. For every blanket you pull over, you put 2 layers underneath you, 2 below for every one above. Say it to yourself while you make up the bed. 2 below, 1 above. Share the pile while you're at it. 2 people under 1 heap of blankets sleep far warmer than 1 person each under their own. And the little ones go in the middle, where the warmth gathers, and do the one thing the old ones never skipped. Cover your head, a wool cap or a hood, all night. A bare head bleeds off a steady river of warmth all night, which is why a fur cap was standard winter wear in every nation that saw snow. So, pad double below, share the pile, cover your head. Now, blankets can only hold the heat your body makes. How you dress decides how much heat that is. And number 7 runs against everything the winter catalog wants to sell you. Number 7, dress loose, dress in layers, and fear your own sweat. Look at old photographs of winter hunters from any nation and you will notice the clothes hang loose. Nothing tight anywhere. Still air is what keeps a body warm, and clothing is nothing but a trap for holding that air against the skin. Tight clothes squeeze the air out. So, in the Blackout house, dress like the old winter trail. A soft layer against the skin. A loose, warm layer over that, wool if you own it. A layer to break the wind if you step outside. Loose all the way through. Up in the North Country, our people stuffed dried cattail down into winter moccasins and mittens, gathered free out of any frozen ditch. And that fluff did the same work the goose down in a catalog jacket does today. Trapped air, held still. Now the wool part. Wool keeps most of its warmth even when it gets damp. Cotton soaked with sweat or snow melt turns into a cold, wet rag lying against your body and stays that way. On the coldest days, wool socks and wool sweaters do the heavy work, and the cotton stays in the drawer, which brings us to the rule the old travelers drilled into every young hunter. Sweat is melted heat. If you head out to shovel the drive or haul in wood, take a layer off before you start, not after you're soaked through. Work slow and stay cool. My uncles put it plain. If you are sweating in January, you are doing it wrong. One last piece. Mittens beat gloves every single time because 4 fingers together share one warmth and split apart into glove fingers. Each one shivers alone. Loose layers, wool over cotton, strip before you work, mittens over gloves. Dressed right and bedded right, you can hold out a long while. Now let's make some heat, because number 6 is my favorite trick on this whole list. Number 6, the stone that holds fire. When I was a boy in the Oklahoma hills, on the coldest nights, my grandmother, Ada, would set a smooth, flat stone on the wood stove while we ate supper. Come bedtime, she wrapped that stone in an old flannel shirt and slid it under the quilt at my feet, and it was still giving off warmth when the roosters started up. The old ones did the same across this whole continent. Stones heated by the fire, wrapped in hide, tucked into the sleeping robes. The reason it works is worth knowing. Air lets go of its heat in minutes. Dense stone drinks heat in and pays it back slowly for 6 or 8 hours or more. A dry stone the size of a bread loaf can keep a bed warm until sunrise. Here's tonight's version, one step at a time. Find a dense, dry stone, or use a common brick or a cast iron skillet. Warm it slowly beside the fireplace or on a gas burner turned low, turning it now and then like a sausage. You want it good and hot to the touch, nowhere near scorching. Flick a few drops of water on it, and if the water spits and dances hard, let the stone rest and settle first. Wrap it in a thick towel. Wrap it again in a second towel or a wool shirt. Slide it under the covers at the foot of the bed about 20 minutes before you climb in. Now the warning, and I want your full attention on this part. Never use a stone out of a creek, a riverbed, or wet ground. Never. A damp stone holds water deep inside. Heat turns that water to steam, and steam splits rock like a rifle shot. I have watched a river rock burst in a fire ring and throw pieces past my ear. Dry stone only, or better still, the brick or the cast iron pan. So, dry stone, slow heat. The water drop test, 2 wraps, foot of the bed. And keep that tippy hole sitting in the back of your mind, because the moment any flame starts making heat in your house, number 1 becomes the most important minute of this whole video. We're getting closer to it. First, the fire itself. Number 5, the little fire and the sleeping coals. My grandfather had a saying about fires. A wise man builds a small fire and sits up close. A fool builds a bonfire and sits back where the heat cannot reach him. In a long blackout, that saying is worth real money, because your wood pile is your savings account, and one big showy fire spends it in a night. A small, steady fire burned down to a thick bed of coals gives more usable heat, cooks food better, and stretches 3 days of wood into 6. Feed at oak or hickory if you have the choice, the dense hardwoods that burn long and slow. Pine and the other soft woods flash up quick, pop sparks, and dirty the flue, so save those for kindling. Whether it is a fireplace, a wood stove, or a fire pit out in the yard for cooking, tend it small and tend it steady. Now, for the older half of this trick, the part that separates the old ones from the rest of us. They did not build a new fire every morning. They kept fire alive, and on the trail, the coals rode from camp to camp in a horn packed with ash and punk wood, still quietly breathing. You can keep your fire alive the very same way, right in the fireplace. At bedtime, rake the coals into one tight pile toward the back of the firebox. Bury that pile completely under a thick blanket of ash, 2 or 3 inches deep, 2 or 3 inches, enough that no red shows through. The ash chokes the air down to a whisper, and the coals sleep instead of dying. Come morning, rake the pile open, lay dry twigs on the glow, and give it a few long, slow breaths. You will have flame inside a minute without striking one match. One caution goes with it. If coals are alive in a fireplace, the damper stays open all night, every night. Hold on to that, because it walks us straight toward number 1. Small fire, hardwood, coals blanketed under ash, damper open. Heat is handled. But in January, dark falls at 5:30 and stays 15 hours, and light is the next fight. Number 4 is sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. Number 4, the fat lamp in your pantry. Long before kerosene ever came in a can, the old ones lit the winter, dark with fat. Up in the far north, our people raised it to an art, a shallow stone dish of rendered fat with a moss wick, and that one small flame lit and warmed a snow house through months of night. Down this way, folks rendered bear fat and deer tallow for the same job. The version for tonight sits on a grocery shelf, a plain can of solid vegetable shortening. Here is the build, one step at a time. Take the lid off the can. Cut a piece of cotton kitchen string about 4 inches long, or twist a thin strip of cotton cloth good and tight. Push it straight down the center of the shortening with a pencil, all the way to the bottom. Leave about a ½ inch of wick standing up. Rub a dab of shortening onto that tip so it takes the flame. Light it like a candle. That is the whole job. And one good-sized can will light your evenings for many nights running, because the fat feeds the wick slow and steady, exactly like the old stone lamps did. Now the safety, said the way my grandmother would have said it. The lamp sits on a saucer or a pie tin. The saucer sits on a high, steady shelf, away from the curtains, away from little hands, away from the cat. And you blow it out every single time you leave the room or lie down to sleep, no exceptions. A flame never stays awake in a room after the people stop watching it. That was the law in every lodge, and it is the law in your house tonight, which is your last reminder before we get there. Every flame you light in a blackout, this little lamp, the fireplace, a camp stove, every one of them makes number 1 matter more. 2 tricks left, and then I pay off that teepee question in full. Number 3, the water rules. Number 3, never eat snow, and the other water rules. Winter thirst is a quiet thief. Cold air is desert dry. You never feel thirsty in it, and a dried out body makes poor heat. So folks get colder and clumsier by the hour and never connect it to water. The old winter trails ran on regular warm drinks, and the first rule of getting them was absolute. You never eat snow. Snow is mostly air wrapped around a little water, and melting it in your mouth spins your body's own furnace to do the work. More heat out than water in. The old-timers melted it first, every time, no matter how thirsty they were. So melt it right. Put a splash of water in the bottom of the pot first, a starter cup, because dry snow set straight on heat can scorch and taste burnt. Add snow a little at a time. Press each batch down as it slumps, and know the arithmetic before you start. 10 inches of fluffy snow cooks down to about 1 inch of water, 10 to 1. So gather far more than looks reasonable. If you have no fire going, fill a black trash bag loosely with snow and lay it in the sun against a south wall or inside a south window. And on a bright day, it will sweat you out drinking water by afternoon, even in freezing weather. Then guard what you melt. The water jugs sleep in the warm room with the family, the same way the water skins slept inside the lodge, never out in a cold kitchen where the night will take them back to ice. And spare one thought for the pipes while you are at it. Open the cabinet doors under the sinks so room air can reach the plumbing, and let the faucet farthest from where the water enters the house run a thin, steady trickle. A trickling faucet is cheap insurance against a pipe bursting inside a wall. Melt it. Never eat it. Starter cup in the pot, 10 to 1. Jugs sleep warm, cabinets open, one faucet trickling. The body is watered. Now it needs fuel. And the old winter kitchens knew things about that no diet magazine will ever print. Number 2, feed the inner fire. The old ones ate winter differently than summer, and they did it on purpose. The traveling food of the plains was pemmican, dried lean meat pounded fine and bound up with rendered fat and dried berries, and a hunter could cross a frozen week on one pouch of it. The secret in that pouch was the fat. Sugar burns in the body like pine straw, one bright flash and gone. Fat burns like a hickory log, low and steady for hours. In a cold house, you want hickory log food. So the Blackout kitchen runs on 3 rules. Eat it warm, put fat in it, eat something rich before you sleep. A hot supper counts nearly double in a cold room, so keep one pot working at the edge of the coals. My grandmother's winter pot was hominy and beans with a piece of fatback riding in it, sitting at the side of the fire all afternoon, and a bowl of it warmed you twice, once going down and once all night after. Corn, silu, in my grandmother's language, carried this continent through 10,000 winters, and a pot of hominy still does the job. Then at bedtime, a spoonful of peanut butter or a handful of nuts. That is a log laid on your inner stove, and you will feel the difference at 3 in the morning. One more piece, the warm cup, and it comes with a woodsman's warning, so listen close. The old winter tea across much of this country was pine needle tea, and ship doctors in the old sailing days learned about evergreen tea from the people of the St. Lawrence after it put scurvy-sick sailors back on their feet. White pine is the tree to know, and it is easy to know. White pine carries its needles in little bundles of 5. Count them. 5 needles to the bundle, 5 letters in the word white. Snip a small handful of green needles and chop them. Pour water over them that is steaming hot but just off the boil. Cover the cup and wait 10 minutes. 10 minutes, covered, never boiling, or you cook the good right out of it. It drinks light, a little like citrus. And the old ones took it all winter for the vitamin C in it. Now the warning. There's a common yard shrub called yew with flat, dark, single needles and bright red berries. And yew is deadly poison. No tea, no taste, never so much as to your lips. If you are not 100% certain you are looking at white pine, leave the tea alone and drink hot water with honey, and you will still be warm. And if you're expecting or you take daily medications, skip the pine tea altogether and have a word with your doctor first, same as you would before adding anything new. Warm food, fat in the pot, something rich at bedtime, and a hot cup you are absolutely sure of. And now we are here. Number 1. The one I told you sounds backwards, and the one that decides whether every flame on this list keeps your family safe or puts them in danger. Number 1, leave the smoke hole open. Picture the coldest place, I have ever slept. A teepee on the northern plains in January, 20 degrees below zero outside, a small fire in the center, and a circle of people warm inside buffalo robes. Now look up. At the very top of that lodge, there is a hole, open to the black winter sky, with 2 flaps staked out on poles to work it like a chimney. The first winter I slept in one, I asked the man who raised it the same question you have been carrying since the start of this video. Why does the warmest shelter on the plains have a hole in the roof? Here is his answer and mine. Warm air rises, and warm air never rises empty-handed. It carries the smoke of the fire. It carries the fumes that every flame gives off, and it carries water, because every breath you let out all night long is loaded with moisture. A family breathes cups and cups of water into the air of a closed room before sunrise, and the supper pot and the flames add more. Seal the house up tight, the way every instinct tells you to, and all that water has nowhere to go. It settles quietly into the blankets, the coats, the mattress, the walls, and damp cloth quits on you. The warmth in wool and quilts lives in the dry, still air, trapped inside the weave, and once your own breath has loaded that cloth with water, it goes flat, heavy, and cold. That is why a person can wake at 3 in the morning colder than when they lay down under the very same pile of blankets and never understand what changed. What changed was the air. Now the harder half, and I will say it slow because it matters most, every flame eats the good air in a room and gives off a gas you cannot see, cannot smell, and cannot taste. And in a sealed room, that gas puts people to sleep so gently that they do not wake up. Storm after storm, that is the story in the newspapers afterward, and it happens in sealed up rooms, and it never has to. So hear the old law of every winter lodge on this continent. A fire must breathe, and the lodge must breathe with it. The hole is not a leak. The hole is the lungs of the lodge. Fresh air feeds in low around the liner. The warm air hauls the smoke and the wet and the bad gas out the top. The bedding stays dry, and dry is warm. Here's tonight's translation, one step at a time. If anything is burning in your house, a fireplace, a wood stove, the fat lamp, a camp stove, crack a window in that room about 2 fingers wide. 2 fingers. That is all it takes to let the room breathe. Keep the fireplace damp or wide open anytime coals are alive. All night, every night. Charcoal never comes indoors, not into the house, not into the garage, not for 5 minutes. Air the bedding every day, the way the old camps aired the robes over a pole each morning. Hang the quilts over a chair and let your night's breath dry back out of them. And spend $15 at the hardware store on a battery-powered carbon monoxide alarm. Battery-powered, not the plug-in kind, because the plug-in kind died with the lights. The old ones had 10,000 years of practice reading a fire. You and I get a little white box for $15. Buy the box. So there is the answer I promised you. Paid in full. Cold air was never the great killer in the winter lodges. The old ones feared trapped, wet, dead air far more, and they built the cure right into the roof. Keep your lodge breathing and your blankets dry, and the other 9 tricks will hold your family warm until the lights hum back on. And that right there is the kind of thing the old ones handed me for free. There are 101 more like it in the Native American way, written out plain so they do not die with me. The fire and shelter and water skills, the backyard plants, Ada's teas and salves, and the recipes that carried the people through every winter. Every bit of it works with the power out. It is $17 right now. Marked down from $47, less than you will spend on flashlight batteries this winter. And the night the lights go out is a poor night to start learning. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So the next time the furnace goes quiet, At 2 in the morning, you will not lie there in the dark waiting on the power company. You will get up and go to work on a plan 10,000 winters old. Tell me in the comments where your people are from. And if there's native blood in your family line, like there is in so many American families, I'd be honored to hear the story. I read every single one. Next time, I am going to show you the tree standing in half the backyards in America whose bark my grandmother brewed whenever somebody's knees or head were aching. The very bark the drug companies turned into the best-selling pill of the 20th century. I will show you how to know that tree at a glance and the gentle old way to brew it so it sits easy on the stomach. Wado, my friends, that means thank you. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.